What happens when the cameras keep rolling, but the family at the center has already fallen apart? For years, we were invited into a living room that promised something unusual yet united. A modern plural family trying to make love, faith, and sacrifice work under one roof. We watched birthdays, tears, jealousies, reconciliations. We were told this was a new way to see commitment, a different kind of strength. But now the house feels quieter. The laughter doesn't echo the same way. The shared future So what are we really watching now? Is it a story about independence and second chances? About women rediscovering themselves after years of compromise? Or is it about survival, about holding on to a paycheck when the original dream no longer fits? And deeper still, what does it mean to let go of an identity the whole world knows you by? Tonight, we're stepping gently into that space. Not to judge, not to sensationalize, but to understand how a family that once stood together on national television is now quietly asking the same question many of us face at some point. Lately, Meri Brown has been putting it out there that sister wives may be coming to an end. During one of her Friday Night with Friends chats, she mentioned she's open to new reality TV opportunities. She even joked, well, maybe half-joked, that she'd like to be the Golden Bachelorette. Now, I'm not sure how serious she is about that, but if we're being honest, I don't know how many viewers would rush to tune in for Meri as the Golden Bachelorette. Usually, for a show like that to work, the audience needs to feel connected to the lead. They need to root for her. They need to fall a little bit in love with her story. And while I don't love the idea that someone has to be likable to deserve opportunities, I'm just not sure Meri fits the kind of romantic, charming storyline that show depends on. Takes a certain openness, a certain spark. That said, Meri clearly isn't sitting still. In her effort to build something beyond sister wives, she and her friend Jen have launched a speed dating company. They're hosting events and putting themselves right in the middle of the dating world. And if you've been keeping track, this feels like business number 17 for Meri and Jen. There's the inn she turned into an event space and remodeled. There's her Worthy Up program where people reportedly pay thousands of dollars for coaching. There's her clothing sales. She always seems to have something new going on. At the same time, Meri has been very clear that she doesn't really want to talk about sister wives anymore. She says she's moved on. She's said she no longer identifies as a sister wife. She's not part of polygamy anymore. In her words, that chapter is closed. And that raises a big question. If she doesn't identify as a sister wife, what exactly is the show now? The numbers tell part of the story. During the most recent season, viewership dropped. By the end of the 2026 season, about 1 million people were tuning in per episode. Now, 1 million viewers is still significant. But for comparison, when Christine first left Kody, the show regularly pulled in 3 to 4 million viewers. That's a huge difference. In fact, the final week of season 20 saw a drop of about 23% compared to the week before. Key 18 to 49 demographic fell sharply too. And the tell-all episodes didn't perform well either. That's usually where the drama spikes, where people lean in for answers. But this time, the excitement just wasn't there. Why? A lot of fans say they're bored. The show is far behind real life. Viewers already know what happened months or even years ago. On top of that, several of the women have started speaking more openly. Christine's book revealed that many storylines were shaped for TV. She shared that they weren't always allowed to tell the full truth, that they could get in trouble for going off script. Then Meri added another layer when she recently said she never truly consented to Kody marrying other wives. She said she didn't feel she had a choice, that she couldn't say no. That caused major backlash. People in the comments were saying, "So what was real? Were we lied to the whole time?" And honestly, I understand why viewers feel that way. A big reason people watched the show in the first place was curiosity. It was a window into polygamous life. People wanted to see how it worked, how the family functioned, the tension, the jealousy, the compromises. That was the premise. But now, that world is gone. Kody is in a monogamous marriage with Robyn. The other wives have left. They don't live as one big family anymore. They rarely see each other. When they do, it's awkward. The shared storylines are thin. What used to feel like one complicated, connected family now feels like 4 completely separate shows happening at the same time. And even within those separate storylines, there are subplots that don't always connect. The women seem to be drifting further apart. Cohesion is gone. There's also another issue. Many viewers simply don't enjoy watching Kody and Robyn. Some find them frustrating. Others feel uncomfortable watching Kody's behavior toward his former wives and children. They don't want to see him try to repair his image through a happy monogamous couple storyline. For a lot of fans, that's not compelling. It's exhausting. When a show reaches this stage, people sometimes call it jumping the shark. It loses the very thing that made it interesting in the first place. And yet, none of them seem ready to walk away. The reality is, the show provides income, and for many of them, it's their primary source of income. That's likely why we're seeing so many side ventures pop up. Janelle is leaning into coaching. Christine has expanded into short-term rentals and continues selling supplements. She's even branching into hosting cruises. Everyone seems to be building something on the side. Maybe they sense what's coming, because if the show does end, retirement isn't that far away for some of them. And reality TV doesn't last forever. So here we are, watching a show that was once about one big, unconventional family, slowly unravel into separate paths, separate businesses, and separate futures. And the question hanging in the air is simple. When the original story no longer exists, how much longer can the show survive? I'll pause here. I honestly don't know what their retirement plans look like, if they even have solid ones, but it really feels like they're at a strange crossroads. There are so many signs that they're tired of doing the show, and yet they keep showing up. That tension is hard to ignore. And it's not just the family facing uncertainty. Warner Brothers and Discovery are in a tough spot too. Companies are splitting apart. Cable ratings are falling. Ad revenue isn't what it used to be. The whole television landscape is shifting. But here's the thing. Sister Wives is still cheaper to produce than most scripted shows. They don't have to pay actors big salaries. There are no expensive sets or elaborate scripts. So as long as the show costs less to make than it brings in, there's very little reason for the network to cancel it. Even if the ratings aren't what they used to be, profit is profit. And on the family's side, there doesn't seem to be a strong backup plan. This season, David hinted that Christine spends money quickly. He gently suggested she may need to think about what life looks like if the TV income slows down. What happens when they're living off savings or just his income? That's a real adjustment. And not an easy one. Then you've got Meri talking about joining another reality show. Janelle pushing coaching services. Everyone seems to be searching for their next thing, not necessarily because it's a passion project, but because they need income. Meanwhile, Kody and Robyn haven't launched new businesses. Instead, reports say they've taken out a second mortgage, around $750,000, on the house they bought just last year. It appears they're relying heavily on home equity right now. And that's a risky strategy if steady income isn't guaranteed. None of them seem fully prepared for the possibility that the show could end. Even T mentioned on a podcast that there isn't really a clear what's next plan in place. And that raises a tough but honest question. Are they still doing the show because they want to share their lives or because they need the paycheck? If the kids don't want to film anymore, if the family isn't functioning as a family, if there's no shared life to document, then what exactly are viewers watching? And that leads to another layer. People sometimes assume I'm a fan of the show. I'm not. I've never been a fan in the traditional sense. I don't follow it to defend them or to protect the narrative. I watch it critically. In my opinion, it might actually be healthier for everyone if the show ended. Without cameras, maybe they could move forward more honestly. Maybe there could be real accountability, not just carefully edited storylines. I still believe there needs to be accountability for Kody. And yes, for Robyn, but also for all of them. While I empathize deeply with women in polygamous situations, I also believe this show presented a version of that lifestyle that misled people. Sold an idea that many viewers later learned wasn't fully truthful. And from a broader perspective, I think it did real harm. Instead of focusing on the power imbalance at the center, the show often framed the wives as competitors, women fighting for one man's attention. Viewers debated who was the worst mom, who betrayed who was dramatic, who was cold. Meanwhile, the core issue, the dynamic built around Kody, was often pushed aside. That's just my view. Right now, though, life goes on. Janelle has officially moved into her new home in North Carolina. Christine is promoting cruises and continuing book promotions, along with her other business ventures. Meri is reportedly writing her own book. And Kody and Robyn? They've been mostly quiet on social media, aside from cameo videos where fans can pay for personalized messages. It feels like everyone is bracing for change, even if they won't say it out loud. I'm also very curious how the Warner Brothers and Discovery split will impact things. Financial strain at the corporate level could mean fewer episodes filmed, delayed seasons, or even a quiet ending. Honestly, that last tell-all had the energy of a finale. Felt like a closing chapter. But we'll have to wait and see. That's today's update. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this conversation, give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do, and click the bell so you don't miss the next update. Thanks so much for being here. I'll see you soon.